No, no.
Give me an update on how he's doing,
I
or
think it's going to be day to day. So he took an elbow in the hip.
Are you planning in your own mind to not have him tomorrow in the second preseason game?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think of the way that Dean played at the 3 spot, and did it start to make you think like, hey, that might be a look that we can go with 3 bigs?
Yes. It was fine. Like I said, the only problem is we hadn't practiced that,
Right.
And that was kind of off the cuff. Max goes out, do we put in Sam? Or, Sam would have been the more logical, maybe, probably. But then we said, hey, that's part of the experimenting part. Let's go with Dean. It looked good. It's just something we got to work on a little more. And I think you noticed we played him at the 5 too, right? So just trying some things out. To be ready for the regular season. We want a adaptable, flexible roster. Luckily, we have players that fit that bill.
Yeah. I know you're big into stats and stuff like that, but when it comes to pace specifically, do you use that term that all the NBA stat guys use, pace factor, or are there other things that you're measuring?
Yeah, we have our own metrics for what that looks like. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I will say it was extremely high last night in the first half. So, and I know the pace numbers were.
It was number 1 in the NBA.
Yeah. So
of all preseason.
Yeah. So we have to find what is that like? Again, this is where I'm learning this team.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? What is that where we can, obviously we want to create early transition opportunities. But again, we also don't want to be out of control and where we're turning the ball over at a high rate and all that. So we're just going to have to find that. But I was happy with the big lineup, right? Like 2 bigs. I think offensive rating with the 2 bigs on the floor was 128 or something. So that was intentional, right? That's what we're working on in preseason. How do we get that unit to be more efficient offensively? So I thought that was a good start.
But you're not measuring whether you're playing at the pace that you want based on that particular number that's used by the NBA pace factor?
It's one of the numbers we look at.
It's one of them?
One of them, yeah.
Did it ever feel like you guys were playing too fast at points last night?
Yeah, but it's exhibition season. I think there were a few hurried shots, a few hurried passes. So like I said, we're gonna just have to find that what fits this team, what the best pace is for that team. I always say, like, to me the hardest thing to stop is teams that can play at 3 speeds. They can play fast, they can play kind of medium, and then they can also slow it down in the game and execute. So it's almost like you got to have 3 gears, Boom, Autobahn. Yeah, I say Autobahn. Then you're in the neighborhood, you got to kind of, drive slower. And then you get in the city, you better execute. You better be able to, like, parallel park and, not bumping the guy next to you. Yeah.
Which of those 3 speeds is the most difficult to figure out?
I think it's a combination of 3. When to be Autobahn, when to be in the neighborhood, which city, and execute. It really depends. A lot depends on time and score, right? Situation. Chris Paul always said, look at that clock. Clock tells you a lot. How we're playing. Is it 2 for 1? 36 seconds. That thing better get up there and get up before 30, right? Are you up 6 with 2 minutes left to go? Then you're probably in half-court execution mode. And then it's lineup based too, right? Like, and that's the thing with that big lineup. What does that pace look like for them? And then what does it look like for the spread lineup? Oh man, 7 rebounds. So nose for the ball. You don't teach that. I think he's got a nose for the ball off the boards, and then he's got a nose for cutting, which I don't know if you guys noticed last night. There was, we want to be a good cutting team. We want to be a good offensive rebounding team. So he fits those two things. And I keep saying he's that guy you put in that. He's going to find a way. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but he's going to find a way. So we're really high on him.
You talked about like the relationships and how important it is for you to have the touch points with all of the guys, including with you two. Who's that friend? What have you been doing in terms of that relationship building with him? What have you learned, about him? I'm imagining as a coach, you try to learn about him.
It's so easy with him because he's the first in the facility. So I often see him in the breakfast room. We have our little, touch point, and he's one of those guys, right? There's guys that say they want to be great and all that. He's one of those guys who's like desperate to be great. Like there's like a desperation, and I think with him, it's probably going to be like, hey man, you got to pull back a little. You're almost overworking. So we're trying to find.
In terms of the big lineup, we talked so much about offense, but on the defensive end, in the first half, it's the first time you've really gotten to coach Jarrett and Evan playing together on that end. Just what was that like to see, and is it what you expected?
Really fun. Yeah, I'm enjoying that, right? And that's me sitting back on my seat, just observing it right now. And like I said, really, listen, they have a. I don't think you're going to see a ton of change there. Like, it's not, why change what's working? So I think we're adding a little nuance, maybe one or two coverage tweaks that I think could help. But for the most part, just really impressed. And it's not everyone talks rim protection. It's more that it's IQ, it's rotations. They were really good last night.
You mentioned the spread lineup. Who do you plan to use with that?
Well, so that's one big with 4 perimeter players. So that could be anybody. That could be any combination. Doesn't matter.
Do you feel like it's more spread potentially with Evan as opposed to JA?
No, both.
No, really?
And I think that 19-1 stretch, that was JA with 4 perimeters, right? But you can do this. Why can't do the same thing with Evan? Now, Evan, do you surround him with a little more rebounding? That's that could be that's kind of how I think. What'll complement his complement would be different than JA's complement. But we have so many good perimeter players and so good, good depth.
How different does Evan's role look in those spread lineups compared to what he did last night, where he only played alongside Jarrett?
Yeah, you're gonna see. Quite honestly, we haven't really gotten to that. We're intentional with our focus on getting. Because listen, I want to be able to play those two at the end of games. I think they're part of our 5 best players. We want that defensive strength, and so continue to work on that. But yeah, we're going to get to Evan at the 5. We'll definitely get to that.
You emphasize movement off the ball. How do you think you guys did overall without the ball in their hands?
I give us a B+. Really good. Really good. We have cutting principles. We have movement principles. My luck, I don't know how it looked different from last year or felt different, but I was a little worried going in. Man, we haven't worked on it enough, but really, really good.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.